Hmm. Good morning, my folks. Sorry I'm a minute late. I have been reading some articles this morning. You can tell by my red face, a little upset, but that's okay. We're going to get to it. We've got three major stories going on right now. We've got uh, Chesebro is flipped. We got cheese and Krakens that have flipped. We're going to talk about that. Uh, go through the remaining defendants, and we're going to talk about what their flipping means to Trump's prosecution. We've also got the speaker's race. It's heating up again, folks. We've got new people throwing their hats in the ring. We're going to talk a little bit about who's throwing their hats in the ring and what's going on there. And we also have Biden's trip to the Middle East. He has been on a diplomatic barnstorm. He's got quite a bit done this week, so we're going to talk about that as well. So please go fill your coffee cups, grab a pen and paper. This is going to be a hell of a round table at the end of this one. Sunday, we've got all the time we need. Bring those questions. Let's do this. Good morning, my people. We're going to have a lot of slides today. We're going to talk about what's been going on. Cheese and Krakens have flipped. And that, believe me, folks, that is a nightmare for Donald Trump. It is huge news. We've got Chesebro. Yeah, I know his name is Kenneth Chesebro. I get that, but not really who I am. Who I am. His name's Chesebro. Always will be Chesebro for me. Um, so before we get started with all the slides that we have, let's everyone bring a little smile to your face. Uh, we've got Farty Marge, the elevator flatulator, has been running her mouth about the Georgia prosecution. She's losing her damn mind. Things are heating up for her as well. We've got rumors coming out that Jack Smith has possibly made some inroads into the bombing, and that should really unsettle Farty Marge because, yeah, well, you know. But she came out and said Fani Willis shouldn't be prosecuting the former president. She should be prosecuting, going after rapists. And I love this meme. I love this meme. Oh, honey, I just did. I am telling you, it has been a wonderful day in the news. If you like freedom, if you like democracy, if you are for the rule of law, it has just been an outstanding week. Outstanding. Kenneth Chesebro. Chesebro. Nordes Rodriguez says, so what does the flipping mean for Trump's advice council? We're going to do a whole show on that, Nordes. We're going to do a whole show on that. Chesebro flipped. You know, he turned down plea offers all the way up until jury selection. The morning jury selection was supposed to start. And when the packet started going out to the jurors, Chesebro flipped it. He looked pretty happy there, didn't he? I mean, he got a hell of a deal. He really did. He pled to one felony count of conspiracy. And that's a big deal, folks. That's a big deal. One of the things that it means for Fani Willis is when she goes to trial, had nobody flipped, she would have to take and she would have to present evidence to the jury and convince them that the conspiracy that Chesebro was involved in, which is the fake electors on January 6th, um, she would have to prove that up to the jurors to convict Chesebro. Well, Chesebro has said, I did it. It happened. It was a conspiracy. Let me tell you why. Because that's exactly what this means. People are very upset that he didn't get a long-term jail sentence, which he deserved. But that in and of itself, that 1 point alone would be enough to justify giving him the sweet deal he got of pleading out to one felony, which his bar association will likely take his law license from him. He's got to apologize to the people of Georgia, admit what he did, and he's got to pay a $5,000 fine. That in and of itself, isn't a hell of a lot for what he did to our country. It's not. But his flipping is highly consequential, and we're going to talk more about that. We're going to start at the bottom, folks. We're going to start at the bottom. We're going to run through all 19 defendants, this conspiracy, what it means, but we're going to start at the bottom. We're not going to start at where Chesebro's at, where he's right near the top. So let's get into it. The first person to flip was Scott Hall. And Scott Hall was the bail bondsman down in Georgia that was involved in the Coffee County voter machine crimes. But he wasn't alone. He wasn't alone. In this picture, there's nothing like crime in on video, is there? These people are the best, man. They commit their crimes on video. Then you got people like Chesebro that write it all down. I mean, these are the best criminals ever, folks. I guarantee you. I just love this. I absolutely love this. But let's take a look at this picture. Uh, Here by the door, you've got Misty Hampton. Misty Hampton is the head of elections there in Coffee County. And what's going on in this picture is, you've got Scott Hall here in the jacket. By the way, he pled guilty in that same jacket. I guess he doesn't have a lot of jackets. But yeah, you've got Scott Hall here, who was part of this group. And you've got right here, if you can see the cursor moving, that's Kathy Latham. She's a twofer, man. She's a twofer. She's not only here in the voting machine criming, but she is also part of the fake elector. She was a fake elector. She actually went and signed her name to be a fake elector and had that sent to the National Archives. So she's part of she's, you know, two parts of this conspiracy. You've got the voter machine fraud that went on where they broke into the voting machines down in Coffee County. Uh, a cybersecurity company by the name of Sullivan Strickler. That's the other guys in that picture there. Sullivan Strickler broke into the voting machines. That's one aspect of the conspiracy. You see him here, same office. Nothing like, actually seeing the laptop open and the voting machine open here with Scott Hall standing in front of it. And then you got Kathy Latham sitting here watching. She claimed she had no part of this. She had no part of this, which is BS. This guy from Sullivan Strickler, this guy from Sullivan Strickler, nothing like criming on camera. And folks, these are still shots, but there's actually video of this that Fani Willis has. Um, yeah, I absolutely adore this. I do. Nothing like criminals that crime on camera. It is the best. But what we've got here is we've got Scott Hall that pled out first. He was in there in that picture. He gave us not only Misty Hampton and Kathy Latham in his testimony, but he's the one that got us Sidney Powell. And we'll talk more about her involvement here in a minute. This deals with Scott Hall and his plea, Misty Hampton, who is not going to get a plea. Um, she may plead out, but she's not going to get a sweet deal. She's just not. She's late to the she's late to the game. She's the person that sent all the invitations out. Please come down and use my voting machines. She's in a little rink-dink. Coffee County's a very low population county. The city that they're in is a little flea speck of a city. It's like one of these little cities out here in the country where I live. So Misty Hampton doesn't get a deal, and Kathy Latham definitely doesn't get a deal because she's somewhat belligerent. She's somewhat proud of what she did. But that flips up and gives us Scott Hall's involvement, gives us, like I said, Sidney Powell. The next echelon in the Coffee County deal, and the fake electors deal, gives us David Schaefer. Now, David Schaefer, I love the way these people look. I do. You couldn't draw cartoons that look better than this. You really couldn't. This is David Schaefer. He was the head of the GOP in Georgia. David Schaefer is the guy that actually put the whole fake electors thing in Georgia together. So we have the voting machine, breaking into the voting machines, which is going to be tied into more of the conspiracy later, I promise. And when we get into the next echelon, I'm going to tie a little bit more of the voting machines in. You see what purpose that served. And we have the fake electors so far. David Schaefer here, which I haven't even got a good nickname for him. He's just so cartoonish. I got to come up with a good nickname for him. Maybe y'all can give him a good nickname, but he has not been given a deal either. He is not likely to get a deal. He is going to end up pleading out, but he is not going to get a deal. Misty Hampton cannot afford to go to trial on this. She can't. I mean, I want you to think about that for a second, folks. You've worked your whole life. I mean, she's at retirement age. You've worked your whole life. Are you going to wipe out your savings to go to trial for something that they've got you dead to rights on? I mean, really, are you? Are you going to go to trial on something they've got you dead to rights on? Misty Hampton is not going to trial. Kathy Latham wants to go to trial, but she can't afford it. She just can't afford it. She's going to end up taking, at the very end, a sorry deal that's going to get, it's going to be, her deal is going to be worse than Sidney Powell's or Chesebro's. And those two had way more to do with what was going on than either of those two. Scott Schaefer's going to take a horrible deal. They've got him dead to rights. And then there's another defendant by the name of Sean Still. He was one of the fake electors also. He's not much. He's going to get a deal that'll probably be misdemeanors just to clear him off the table. Sean Still is not highly significant to this. He doesn't hold a lot of significant information that's going to be a big deal when it breaks. But moving up the ladder, we got some really interesting people as we move up the ladder. This guy by the name of Chile. This is Robert Chile. Chile was involved in yet another aspect of the conspiracy. There were public hearings in the Georgia legislature. Chile was involved in formulating lies in those hearings to try to give the Georgia's legislature a reason to act and throw out legitimate electors. There's a whole nother facet to this conspiracy involving those hearings with the Georgia legislature and throwing out those fake electors. He's an attorney in Georgia. He is one of the main people that are really going to get rolled in this. He will take a deal. He's an attorney. He's not stupid. He knows he's going to lose his case. I mean, he could throw a Hail Mary up and pray that the prosecution makes a mistake, but Fani Willis is good, folks. I mean, sh he's good. I mean, she's good. That that aspect of it, this whole you're gonna hear more about that as we keep rolling up here. The hearings before the Georgia legislature is another facet. We've got the voting machines, we've got the fake electors, which are tied into the hearings before the Georgia legislature, which is really where the rubber met the road in this conspiracy. It was to throw out the electors for Joe Biden and switch Georgia to Donald Trump. Moving up the ladder. Actually, not up the ladder. We're going to move sideways to another part of the conspiracy. You he just lost a lawsuit where he had defamed Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. That was another aspect of this conspiracy. Their claims that there was impropriety in the count rooms was absolutely part of their conspiracy, an important part of their conspiracy. They actually testified to this before the Georgia legislature. This was a big deal. And the person that facilitated the two people actually that facilitated that were Trevian Cuddy, and this has to go down in history as one of the most notorious mug shots in history. You can just smell the insanity. Take a deep breath. Can you smell the insanity coming through your screen? She was the one that threatened Ruby Freeman for Donald Trump. They've got her dead to rights. She is not going to get a deal. She's going to plead out because, again, she can't afford the long trial. Although she is insane, I will put this caveat on it. I'm going to say she's going to plead out, but she does seem to be insane. I mean, she literally went down to threaten a person on behalf of Donald Trump. And she wasn't the only person involved in that. One of the people that facilitated that is a Chicago pastor. I am not kidding. He is a pastor. His name is Stephen Lee. Yeah, this is why I rail against churches, folks. They're full of pedophiles. You get people like this. They are just, they can't keep their own beliefs to themselves. They've got to try to force them on you. I rail against churches and unapologetically, I rail against churches. Stephen Lee is a pastor who went down and was beating on Ruby Freeman's door. She never interacted with him. She called the cops and had him run away. But yeah, he's one of the ones that have pled guilty. He's not getting a deal. He is not getting a deal. Harrison Floyd, the head of Black Voices for Trump, he bamboozled Ruby Freeman into meeting with Trevian Cuddy. He's not getting a deal either. We're not even going to bring his. He's not important enough to actually show a picture of it. He's a nobody. He's not getting a deal. He is not getting a deal. He will plead out to a pretty harsh sentence because of what he did. Those folks that we're talking about have to do with creating that fake narrative that they all testified to under oath before the Georgia legislature to create that portion of the conspiracy. You have the vote counting conspiracy. You have over here the voting machines conspiracy. Then that all culminates in the fake electors, which You know, that's really where the criming happened for most of these people. When they signed their names on these documents, they committed fraud. Then they took those documents to the National Archives, which the National Archives still has those to this day. Still has those to this day. He is, you're just dead to rights. I mean, you're just dead to rights, people. There's no argument, no wiggle room in these cases. There's no reason for Fani Willis and her office to cut these people's sweetheart deals. She's made the deals with the people she has to. This is Ray Smith. Ray Smith was an attorney down in Georgia, and he was integral into pushing this narrative. He testified before the Georgia legislature. He's one that helped coordinate, get the data from these two ongoing conspiracies, then manipulated in a way that it sounded, like Republicans do, the whole Benghazi thing. They just make false allegations, throw crap at the wall, but they word it in ways that, get your attention. That's what he did. And then he went to the Georgia legislature and testified under oath and perjured himself. He lied. He lied. He took all of this fake electors nonsense. He took the Ruby Freeman intimidation nonsense. He took the voter machine nonsense, and he took that to the Georgia legislature and lied under oath. Which brings us to what I believe. There's also another guy by the name of Mike Roman. I'm not really going to talk about him at all. He's just another one that worked on the fake electors nonsense. He not very consequential. He will plead out. He is another attorney. He is not going to take the long ride for Trump, but he's really got nothing to offer. They're just going to nail him to the wall. He'll end up pleading out. He will. He'll plead out. He will not go to trial. He's just not going to go to trial. He's going to try to make a deal to save his law license. He's going to try to make a deal so that he doesn't have to spend a fortune defending himself in court, and he is going to go away. The next consequential flip I see coming, and some people have disagreed with me. They think Eastman is next. I do not. I think this is your next flip right here. Wait for it. Can anybody guess who it is? Boom, Jenna Ellis. Jenna Ellis. Jenna Ellis is a big deal in this. She's as important to the conspiracy as Sidney Powell was. She is. She was working directly with Rudy Giuliani. She organized the entire hearing, the Georgia legislative hearing. She actually worked with the legislators. She was the general in charge of making that happen. She is highly consequential to Trump's prosecution. And she is an attorney. And unlike Sidney Powell, and I've said this before, I don't like Sidney Powell. I don't like Sidney Powell. Yes, Jenna Ellis is the lawyer that on camera in a primetime interview, Rudy farted on her. Yeah. Um, God, I love you folks. I really do. I love you folks. But that is hilarious. That is hilarious. Uh, Jenna Ellis is the person that took all these sub conspiracies, arranged it all with the Georgia legislators. Tongue tied. I need more coffee. That's why. She's a big deal. She has things to offer. She worked directly with Rudy Giuliani. She can give Fani Willis Rudy Giuliani. I see her right now doing her damnedest to make a deal. She will not flip, just like Sidney Powell didn't flip, just like Kenneth Chesebro didn't flip till right before their trials. When she comes up for trial, she will flip. I absolutely promise you. I absolutely promise you. She's going to flip. That just leaves us with the main players. That just leaves us with the main players. And we'll start with Jeffrey Clark. Now, Jeffrey Clark, he looks like a buffoon. He is a buffoon. He is an idiot, but he was a big deal in this. He was. He worked at the DOJ. He absolutely promised Trump that if Trump made him acting attorney general, he would make all of this happen. He would take what they were trying to do in Georgia and he would federalize it. And I know you're sitting there saying there because you are a great audience. You've seen this before. You know who Jeffrey Clark is. And you're probably sitting there saying to yourself, Paul didn't use the Jeffrey Clark picture of him being busted that everybody knows and loves. And course, of course I have the picture of Jeffrey Clark standing in his underwear. Of course I do. I mean, why would I not show you Jeffrey Clark not standing in his underwear? I mean, who the hell do you answer your door in your underwear? I do not. When I hear a doorbell and I hear ringing, I got a cedar chest next to my bed. And on top of that cedar chest, I keep a pair of shorts and a t-shirt folded up. If I'm not sleeping in that t-shirt, if it's a hot night, the t-shirt is on the cedar chest. If someone knocks on my frickin' door, t-shirt, shorts. That's how I answer the door. Do you answer your door in your frickin' underwear? This is just blows my mind every time I see it. But yeah, that's Jeffrey Clark. He was to quote Joe Biden, he was a big effing deal in this. He was a big effing deal in this. We've talked about the voting machine conspiracy. We've talked about the attacks on Ruby Freeman and that conspiracy, the vote count irregularities, that conspiracy, which all culminated into the fake electors. Jeffrey Clark promised to federalize this. He was going to take this to the next level. That was his role in this. And I do not see him getting a deal. I don't. Because if you think about it, his communications were more from Jeffrey Clark to Trump, not the other way around. He was like a volunteer moron. And everything that Jeffrey Clark wanted to do, Trump didn't. Trump didn't use his letter that he wrote that would have given an excuse to federalize all this. He didn't use it. He didn't appoint Jeffrey Clark. He floated it. And if you remember, all of the senior officials in the DOJ said, if you do that, we will resign en masse. Philip Collins said, just wanted to drop a donation for your cheese and Kraken snack. I love that. That's going to live forever. Cheese and Krakens. That's going to be around forever. So, yeah, unless somebody can come up with something else that Jeffrey Clark has to offer, I don't think he doesn't have anything to make a deal with. I mean, he's just a voluntary participant. And I just don't see it. I don't see it. He is going to take a long ride on this. But again, he's just a worker bee. Jeffrey Clark is not rich. That is a house in the suburbs you just saw him arrested in. Everything he's saved has to be his future. He does not have the money to go to court on this. So yeah, he's going to take a deal and it's going to be a lousy deal. A lousy deal. Well, the next two morons, and we're running out of morons, thank God, are these two. John Eastman and Rudy. John Eastman, everybody, this is where people are arguing with me on my prediction who the next flip is. John Eastman was the attorney. He was involved with January 6th. He was involved in the actual carrying out of the fake electors crime. Um, he was the one that listened to Chesebro and then took it out there and made it happen. Now, Chesebro was the architect. John Eastman was the guy that was stupid enough to believe all this and tried to make it happen. That's why he's here speaking at the, if you remember, this is the ellipse at January 6th next to Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani, the other moron in this picture, he's he is in a unique position. Rudy is in a unique position. Eastman he didn't get his law license taken from him. The bar was going to take it from him. He made a deal to retire because he's old, man. He life, everything he has saved, he can't afford to blow all of it. Eastman was not like Sidney Powell. I keep going back to Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell has bank. Sidney Powell is rich. I mean, she's like Rockefeller rich, man. She has had a successful practice down in Dallas. That's why she ended up in Trump's orbit. She is, yes, a true believer, but she kind of played a shtick. That's not really who Sidney Powell is. She is a cutthroat, good attorney. Martha Salinas says Rudy is broke. Absolutely. We're about to get to that, Martha. We're about to get to that. Sidney Powell has money. She has a practice. She's old. She's 68 years old. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say that that's old, but it's old. It is. You're in your last quartile if you're 68 years old. So yeah, she wasn't tied to Trump. She didn't need Trump to pay for her defense. She didn't, she, you know, has a successful practice that is ongoing today. Yeah, Jesse says she should have got jail. She should have. I agree. I agree. But she collapsed all of the conspiracies. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Um, Allison G says she ain't anymore. Actually, that's the thing. That's why she flipped. That's why she was so critical. That's why she got the deal that she did. She had so many crown jewels to give up. Yeah, she still got her practice in Dallas. And she ended up in Trump's orbit because she is, when you say, okay, I've got to appeal, I've got to engage in federal appeals. There's 3 or 4 lawyers that come up, and Sidney Powell's always tops of that list. That's what she does. That's her legal specialty. Lawyers specialize in different things. You've got, family law practices, you've got criminal practices, you've got corporate lawyers, you've got Sidney Powell specializes in trying appeals. And she's good at it. She's very good at it. All the stupid stuff that you've seen about Sidney Powell, Dr. Pepper lady, and all the wearing the QAnon biker vest and all that stuff, that was shtick. Well, the Dr. Peppers aren't. She's probably got a Dr. Pepper addiction, but it's all shtick. She is a professional attorney. I mean, good. As much as I hate her and her politics, because she is. Here in Texas, she's a big deal in Republican politics. She is, because she's got a lot of money. She does. She's got a lot of money. So she's hit the ground running. She is going to absolutely sit up on that stand and she is going to tear Trump apart. She is. I mean, she's a Republican, but she's not one of these Trump cult, drink the Kool-Aid true believers. That was her job. That was her shtick. Sherry, I always appreciate the help. She says, these creepy people are green, purple people eaters. Absolutely. I agree with you. Thanks for the support. I really appreciate it. But let's keep moving. I don't want to get sidetracked on Sidney Powell too much. You've got Eastman, who, yeah, he's going to cut a deal. He can't afford the trial. But Rudy Giuliani, even if he wanted to cut a deal, I don't think Fani Willis will give him one. Fani Willis envisions herself a Rudy Giuliani New York RICO trial with several defendants lined up. And so far, Scott McAfee, the judge in the case, has been resistant to that. He's like, you got too many defendants. You got too many. Those defendants are going to start whittling away. Fani Willis will get her big RICO trial. It will. But it's going to be Donald Trump, Mark Meadows, and Rudy Giuliani. Maybe John Eastman, I don't know, and maybe Jeffrey Clark. Don't see it. But everybody else is going to cut a deal. Everyone else is going to cut a deal. I mean, this leaves us with, like I said, the next person up the pole is Mark Meadows. And I wish somebody could explain to me, because Mark Meadows, I'm pretty good at predicting what people are going to do. I am. I am pretty good at guessing what people are going to do. Mark Meadows has proved me wrong every step of the way. Mark Meadows was a self-serving congressman before he moved into the executive branch. I in no way envisioned him going to the mat for Donald Trump. But so far, everything he's signaled, every step he's taken, he has been mum, will not testify. He has gone along with every crazy executive privilege argument, everything. I believe Mark Meadows, a lot of people were arguing right away, Meadows is going to flip. Meadows is going to flip. I was one of them. I thought he was going to be one of the first ones out of the gate because he's his whole life has been a political animal. But I really think he's down the Kool-Aid. I think he's crossed over from being, you've got these like old timer Republicans that Mark Meadows was one of, and they don't really, they love to use Trump. They love to use the MAGA voters, but they're not really MAGA. They're just shitty Republicans. Mark Meadows was always one of those in my eye, but he has something that has made him drink the Kool-Aid. Chinook Adventures RV says Mark Meadows apparently has a secret that he's trying to hide. I guess so. I I really wish I could bring to you some commentary right now that said Mark Meadows is doing this for this reason. Mark Meadows completely confuses me. He is not acting like the animal he is. He really is acting like a cult member. He's going to end up going to frickin' trial. And again, Mark Meadows has money. He can afford this trial. So yeah, I don't call him out like I do so many others that just can't afford to do this. I mean, this trial is going to cost minimum 300 grand. I don't get it. I don't get it. But yeah, that's my prediction on Mark Meadows, that he is going to be one of the defendants at the RICO table sitting right next to Donald Trump. And of course, that leads us to the last defendant, Donald Trump. Trump is screwed. With just Chesebro and Sidney Powell, just cheese and Krakens, he's done. They prove up too many of these conspiracies. And Sidney Powell, where I told you that she had crown jewels to give, has communications with Trump. She did not go through an intermediary like Jenna Ellis did. Jenna Ellis was in Trump's orbit and had conversations with Trump. But all of Jenna Ellis's marching orders came through Rudy. Sidney Powell doesn't have that. There's nobody in the chart that is between Sidney Powell and Donald Trump. Chesebro destroys Donald Trump because, the legal profession. I just did a take on this for Midas. It's going to come out in the next day or two. I hope you catch it. Talking about Chesebro. The legal profession is the written word. It is. I mean, even when a lawyer makes an argument in court, it's all written down. And Chesebro, my God, he wrote everything down. Everything. And then he would send it in memos to other co-conspirators. He would be like, "This is a crime. This is why it's a crime. We should be concerned about this." And then he would send that to other co-conspirators and they would respond. I mean, the only thing that I can think of better than committing a crime on camera where you can see it is to actually document your crime in writing, explain that you know it's a crime, explain that you're concerned it's a crime, then explain for prosecutors why it's a crime, and then send it out in a group email. I hire the best people. I hire the best people. Yeah, these are the worst criminals I've ever seen in my life. You talk about keystone criminals. They are the absolute worst. And it's just insane that these people, it's insane to me that every one of these people hasn't begged for a deal. And most of them will. Most of them will. But yeah, I just wanted to go through that with you, beginning to end. What's going on with the trial down in Georgia, because that is going to lead, and I'm going to put my neck out there again. Trump's not going to trial in Georgia. I don't believe he's going to trial in Georgia. Fani Willis is going to knock off a few more of these defendants. Vicky H says cheese and Kraken with fierce Fanny will take Trump down. Amen. Amen. Here's what I see in Trump's future. Trump knows that he's screwed. He does. He There's no way that he cannot know, even though he's a narcissist, and narcissists always believe they're in control. When they lose control, when it becomes obvious to them, and his attorneys are explaining to him, he's lost in New York already. They're going to dissolve his company in New York. He's going to lose in Georgia. You can see it from his communications on Truth Social. He is freaking the hell. I love that Christmas area. Ed too cracking. I love you people. I really do. You are the best. Yep, that's where I'm going, Valerie. That's where I'm going. Trump will never make it to trial. He is not going to make it to trial. He's going to run. He is. Narcissists, when they lose control, resort to violence and threats of violence and gaslighting to try to maintain control. They hurt you to get control back. Trump can't. He's trying. He's trying to foment violence, but nobody's doing it for him. Nobody's going to do it for him. Nobody's going to come save him, and he knows it. What I am going to stick my neck out there and predict is Trump is going to charter a private flight so that it's not one of his planes. He's got a couple jets, the small commuter jet, and then the obnoxious looking Trump jet. He's going to charter a private flight out of Florida. Before he does, he's going to go to Europe, not go to Europe, but he's going to a deal with a bank in Europe, and he's going to secure some loans. He's going to put his equity in Doral, in Bedminster, in all of his properties. He's going to put that up for a ridiculously small loan, 40, $50 million, in which that bank will deposit that money into a bank in, say, Azerbaijan. Trump has a project in Azerbaijan. He has a project that he wants to do in Moscow. Under the guise of wanting to do one of those projects, he will get a ridiculously small loan because they can do that quickly. And he will take that money and run. If it goes to someplace like Azerbaijan or Russia, we can't seize that money. We can't. Then he's going to jump in a charter jet and he is going to fly someplace like Honduras, maybe Cuba. I don't see Cuba. He's going to grease a few wheels there, spend a little of his money there. Then he's going to catch a diplomatic flight to Russia. And then he's going to be Putin's puppet. He's going to foment the, the right. He's going to try to cause violence. He's going to try to cause, as much division in our country for the next 10 years of his life, because he's about to be 80 years old. By the time this trial rolls around, he'll be looking at 79. He doesn't have more than a decade's worth of life left in him. So think about it from Putin's point of view. What does it cost you? You got to rent a nice house for what? Max 10 years? That's under a couple $100,000. 2 flights you got to pay for maximum. Hookers, blow, food, and you own this guy, a former president of the United States, who will come out and he will stand in front of a microphone and say any damn thing you want. That's what we have to look forward to. Not Trump offing himself, not Trump going to jail, no closure, no resolution. No, Trump is going to frickin' Russia. He will be protected by Putin. He will cause problems for the next decade until he dies. That is my prediction. Now, there's a lot of other people that think he's going to run. They think he's going to go to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is at odds with Iran. Saudi Arabia cannot sever their ties with us. And if they put up Trump, that's exactly what they would be doing. They would be severing their ties with us completely. Saudi Arabia hates us. They don't like us, but they can't quit us. They're just in a position they can't. They're in a slugfest with Iran in the Middle East for control. They can't afford to lose us. Somebody put Belarus up. Still under Putin's control if he ends up in Belarus. I see him more in around St. Petersburg, that area. It's a pretty nice part of Russia. There's some really nice real estate there, but that's what I see happening. John Edgar says, "I think we need to be in correct order. It's Kraken and cheese." That's a good one. That's a good one. Way SF Bounds. I apologize if I mispronounced that. I do apologize. Correct me in chat on how to pronounce it. Says he'll go to Turkey. Erdogan will refuse to extradite. Mm, Erdogan is in a weird spot right now. Erdogan sees Putin's days numbered in Russia. He sees that Russia is not his most profitable long-term ally. And again, I don't think Erdogan is in a position to just sever our relationship. I just don't. And he says a lot of things, and like with what's been going on with the October massacre in Israel, um, he made a lot of sable rattling about, oh, if Israel invades, that Turkey will invade and stuff like that. But that's all talk. It's not going to happen. Doc in Paradise says Turkey is supposed to be an ally. They are, they they are, but they also have a population. It's like what you saw King Hussein of Jordan do. He backed out of the summit with Joe Biden, um, because he had a Palestinian uprising in his country. Palestinians make up the majority of the population in Jordan. He didn't want to have to put down, you know, violently put down the Palestinians. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want that problem. So yeah, he made a lot of noise and said the right things, but behind closed doors is like, we're good. Trust me, we're good. Trust me, we're good. That's why I call it the Sea of Lies, folks. It's Mideastern diplomacy, is what it is. Hungary, yeah, maybe. Hungary is beautiful, folks. If you've never had the chance, if you want to plan a vacation, um, Hungary is beautiful. It is historically just incredible. If you like old architecture, Byzantine architecture, and it is gorgeous. So yeah, maybe Hungary. I don't know. I would think Putin would want him closer so that he can just jerk his chain anytime he wants. Glad you agree with me, Tammy. Hungary is gorgeous. Just the Carpathian Mountains and everything come down into Hungary. It's beautiful, beautiful. But I want to move on from Trump. I want to talk about Biden's wins this week. This picture cost Biden a lot. It did. For the record, Biden and Netanyahu don't like each other. They really don't like each other. And already this has started a stir. The trolls and the Republican operatives have been working in Michigan and other areas, New York and other areas. That doesn't really pay off as much in New York, but any areas that have Minnesota, that have areas of large Arab communities and large Muslim communities, they've been using that picture because Netanyahu, rightly so, is just hated in the Middle East. I don't like the guy. I really don't. But he is the head of Israel right now. Biden had to go down and pull him close. And I'm going to tell you, folks, people keep saying Israel hasn't invaded because of rain. It's raining. You can't invade in the desert when it's raining. The hell you can't, folks. The hell you can't. There was a lot of diplomacy going on behind the scenes. And the only way to really grab a hold of Netanyahu is to pull him in close. Netanyahu can't lose face. All he has going for him is that he's a tough guy and I'll keep you safe. So Biden pulled him in close. And Biden is the reason the Israelis haven't invaded. Let me explain it to you this way, okay? I live in a forest. I do. I live in East Texas. It's a forest around here, but the soil is really sandy. It can rain for a solid week here. A solid week. Half a day later, it's dry. It is. It's even faster in a desert like Gaza. No, the rain is not preventing the Israelis from invading. It isn't. Yeah, yeah. Sounds like East Texas. I'm telling you. Um, yeah, I live near a town called Big Sandy. The soil is so sandy around here. Yeah, it's Big Sandy for the sand in the soil. It's not a lady. Um, yeah, it that's the way it works, folks. I mean, the rain is not keeping Israel from invading. It's diplomacy. It's diplomacy. We've had a couple hostages released. That's one of the successes Biden had when he was over there. He got Arab allies to put pressure on Hamas to release hostages. That's one of the wins that he got. He got Egypt. LSC, El-Sisi does not want to allow aid to flow from Rafah to Palestine. He doesn't. Egypt allowed Palestinians in once. It was a nightmare because the same things that were happening with Israel started happening in Egypt. And I'm not attacking the Palestinian people. I want to take a second to address something. Y'all know I like Tony Michaels. Yeah, I consider the man a friend. I do. He doesn't speak for me. He has never spoken for me. Never will. And if there are Tony Michaels fans here, no, I'm not attacking Tony Michaels here. I'm just saying something he said on his show was incorrect and I need to address it. He said that I was saying that the Palestinians were Hamas and that it was all one people. No, I never said that. I never said that. What I said was Hamas enjoys support, about 70% support from the Palestinian people. And that's true. That's just true. I will always tell you the truth. Now, I've taken a lot of heat because I won't spread propaganda. I won't spread propaganda. And when I see something dangerous, I call it out, like the Al Ali hospital bombing. That blew up a summit, people, that was going to be good for the Palestinian people. So, yes, I called that out immediately. When the wire services took Hamas's word for what happened at the Al Ali hospital, I knew that was dangerous. I knew what the repercussions would be, and it happened. It blew up this entire summit that was geared towards negotiating peace and aid for the Palestinian people. To Biden's credit, he never gave up. He never gave up. When that blew up, when Mahmoud Abbas pulled out, King Hussein from Jordan pulled out, Biden didn't quit. Biden kept pressure on Egypt, and now Egypt is starting to allow a flow of aid through. You're getting, I don't know what's going on with the minds of people on the left right now. I am liberal, but I'm seeing liberals say crazy things like they've started to bring aid in from the South. Biden got them to turn water on. All I hear is screams of it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough. I know it's not enough. It's just they're just starting. You've taken Egypt, which was absolutely categorically opposed to allowing any aid into Gaza, and they're letting aid into Gaza. They're using Al Arish Airport to gather the aid, which is a few miles southwest of Gaza, and they are trucking it through Rafah into Gaza. And once they see that this happens with no big problems, they'll allow more. You know, Biden didn't just quit. He's still working on this. I mean, Biden had some big wins. He got Netanyahu to back off. Yes, Israel is still whenever there are rocket attacks, the Iron Dome has a tracking system to track where the rockets come from. They attack that site. They hit that with missiles. They destroy that site. That is all Israel is doing. The land assault has not happened. Danny Puckett, Texas Paul called out the fake news about the hospital before anyone. Yeah, I did. I saw it. I saw the red flags with it. I stuck my neck out. I lost a third of my audience, folks. I lost a third of my audience for calling that out, and I will keep doing it. If it's just me and one of you guys sitting here talking, so be it. But I care what happens to the Palestinian people, even though I don't agree with them 100%. They deserve a homeland. So do the Kurds, by the way. Colton also says, tired of people trying to hate on Biden. He's doing an unreal job so far, and he'll never get any credit for it. You know, you've got the Arab community just going nuts over that picture with him and Netanyahu. just going nuts about it. We're not going to vote for, we feel betrayed. We're not going to vote for Democrats. You know what? See what the fascists do to you. I don't mean to be a jerk, but see what the fascists do to you in the next election. Go ahead. Don't show up. Shoot us in the ass. Promote fascism in this country and see how it works out. Because I promise you, they don't like you. You're Muslim. They don't like you. I hate to be brutal in my assessment, but that's the truth, folks. That's the truth. If you want to promote for the Palestinian people, then do it. But don't try to shoot us Democrats in the ass. We're your friends. And speaking of friends, we've got we've got a problem on our hands. We do. I've been trying to attack the propaganda because propaganda is not free, people. It's not free. It comes at a cost. We just had a horrible event happen in Detroit. Samantha Woll. She's the head of the Isaac Agree downtown synagogue in Detroit. And she was just murdered brutally in front of her house. She was stabbed to death. She was stabbed to death at her house. It looks like somebody may have kicked her door in when she was answering the door. Thanks for the support, Ren. I appreciate you. Started stabbing her and she ran. She made it to the sidewalk at the edge of her property and collapsed and bled out on the sidewalk and died. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get ahead of yourself because it may not have been." Well, it may not have been an attack over what's going on in Israel, but it looks like it was because this morning they brought in the FBI. And if it was a domestic or a robbery or something, if that's what they thought it was, Detroit PD would still be handling it. They wouldn't have brought in the FBI this morning, which I can't guarantee you that it's going to be a politically motivated attack, but you don't normally bring in the FBI unless it's something that crosses borders and it's kind of a big deal. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm not going to make any specific allegations till I learn what's going on. But yeah, the FBI was just brought in this morning on this. And that's not it. That's not the end of it. Around the world, things have been going crazy. Things have been going crazy. You had a synagogue in Germany firebombed 2 days ago. Propaganda is not free. I understand that you want to support the Palestinian people. I do. I understand that. I want them to have their own homeland too. But I'm not going to pretend like everything's okay. It's not. It's not okay to attack Israel with lies. I mean, there's enough that Israel's done wrong. Benjamin Netanyahu faces attacks in his own country from Israelis that don't like his policies. That's really happening. That really has happened. They almost rid themselves of him. It was so close. And I doubt he's going to survive this. I do. But folks, we can't pretend like everything's great just because you want to support the Palestinians. We can't pretend that the problems aren't still there. This happened. Gay Palestinian man was beheaded in the West Bank for being gay. In Gaza, they have hung gay people by their genitals until they were dead from lampposts. That's really happened. And then you get people out of Hamas, intellectuals that write articles say it's not true. It's not true. That's pink washing. That's pink washing. Ask gay people. I didn't spend the last several years of my life being an ally to the LGBTQ plus community to just pretend like everything's hunky dory in Gaza. And Hamas is not in control of the West Bank, people. You can't say it was Hamas. Matthew Preble, thanks for the support. I really appreciate the support. They beheaded a man on the street in the West Bank for being gay. So, no, yeah, I'll sit here and I will say to you, I will look you dead in the eye and I will say, the Palestinians deserve a homeland. They do. I'm going to speak for me, not Tony Michaels, not Hal Sparks. No one else is going to speak for me. I'm going to tell you the way it is with Texas Paul right here, right now. The Palestinian people deserve a homeland. They do. No one, no Arab country around treats them like first class citizens. They're treated like second class citizens at best. Egypt won't even allow them in their country. So, yeah, that's a people that need a homeland, and I'll support that. I will. The Kurds need a homeland. They do. I support that. Both of those people hate the LGBTQ plus community. No, not everyone. Now that here come the attacks. You just said all Palestinians, all Kurds. No, I didn't. But as a society, they do hate LGBTQ plus people. There are Palestinians around the world that don't, but not a lot. Folks, a guy just showed up at one of the pro-Palestinian protests in Trafalgar Square in London. He was a progressive. He was a gay man. He supported Palestine. He showed up with a pride flag. They ripped his pride flag out of his hand, beat the crap out of him until he ran away. What I'm saying is it's complicated. It's complicated. Do I support Israel? Sure. Absolutely. They're our ally in the region. Do I like Benjamin Netanyahu? Hell no. Guy's a jackass. He's much worse than that. I guarantee you, I could use enough words. I could get this entire video taken down on how I feel about Benjamin Netanyahu. But Israel deserves to exist where it exists. Israel deserves to let me say that again. Israel deserves to exist where it exists without groups like Hamas existing. Thanks for the support, Jesse. Without groups like Hamas existing and murdering its people. That is true too. The Palestinians deserve to exist. The Israelis deserve to exist freely without violence. But it's complicated. Carter said to the cussing pot. No, I want to be clear about this. I do, because I've had people talk for me, try to talk for me that don't talk for me and how I feel. So I want to make it clear. If you have any questions or disagreements with how I feel, throw them up there in the comments. We can talk about this. Do I believe the Palestinians deserve a homeland? I do. Do I believe their hands are completely clean? No, I do not. Because Hamas enjoys 70% support in Gaza. Palestinians that support Fatah, which is supposed to be the least, forgive the analogy, crazy of the terrorist groups in the West Bank, cut the heads off gay people. I didn't spend years of my life being an LGBTQ plus ally to forget that. I don't have any illusions that a Palestinian homeland is going to be a great place. I don't. It's going to be an Islamic state. And I don't like a lot of Islamic states. I don't. I think what Iran does to its people, and they're not even Arab. They're Persian. They're not Arab. What they do to their people, you can go back and look at pictures of Iran in the 60s. It was a beautiful cosmopolitan country that was just growing and great. And then it became an Islamic state, and they beat women to death. They beat women to death for showing their hair. That stuff really happens. So, yeah, no, I will not jump on the propaganda train. Yes, I will call out dangerous propaganda, but no, I don't hate the Palestinian people. I don't. I just don't have any illusions any more than I have illusions about Israel. If Israel doesn't get what it wants out of these negotiations, which is the death of Hamas, which is a big if right now, Israel might still invade. And that will be brutal for people that don't deserve who don't deserve it. You know, they don't. The people of Palestine don't deserve to be boxed into a war zone. I am hoping that Biden succeeds because he's trying desperately to stop that. He is utilizing our relationship with Turkey. He's utilizing our relationship with Egypt. He's utilizing our relationship with Jordan. He's utilizing our relationship with Saudi Arabia to try to make sure that doesn't happen. And I wish him Godspeed. Thanks for the support there, CH. I really appreciate you. I really do. There's one last thing I want to clear up before I give you a little piece of good good news about Gaza. I want to ask you to do something. I want you to go to Google Maps, sit down on your laptop or your desktop, preferably. You can do it on your phone, but it's a little harder to see because you can only get the picture so big. But and I want you to go to Gaza, and I want you to look around. I really want you to look at Gaza. It's not a hellscape. It's not a hellhole. Let me do that with you right now. It's not a hellhole. It's not. You know, people in the West try to look at Gaza and say, "Let's go to the map." That it's a terrible place and yada 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 and desolate and it's been destroyed by Egypt or by Israel and yada yada yada. That's not true. You got Khan Yunis is the city in the south, Gaza City is the city in the north, and you've got Rafah right on the border. These are three different cities, but I just want you to take a look. Some reality for you. And this is not a negative thing I'm saying. This is a very positive thing I'm saying. Shifa Hospital, top of the line hospital. It is Israel's or pardon me, Gaza's number one hospital. Okay. It really is nice. It's as nice as anything you'll see here in the States. You know, this is look at the area around it. This is a cosmopolitan city. That's Shifa Hospital. But more than that, okay, and there are a ton of hospitals in Gaza City alone. If you just search hospitals, you would see a ton of them, just a ton of them. The Indonesian hospital, also another big facility. There's a ton of photos there. I'm not going to go through all of that. It's a big deal. But let's search hotels, and you start to zoom in. You know, you've got some great places like the Grand Palace. There are hotels all over the place in Gaza that are nice hotels. Museums, pharmacies, restaurants. Let's look up restaurants. This is the one that blew my mind. Look at these restaurants. These are not. You got the Snoo restaurant, the Cedar Cafe, the Cedar Cafe. Look at this. It's written in English, folks. It's written in English. Okay, not just Arabic, English. Why? Because it's a cosmopolitan, international city. I mean, this is a nice restaurant in Gaza. I would eat there. Serve pizza. Does this look like a hellhole to you? I mean, does it look like a hellhole to you? It doesn't to me. I'm not saying everything's great in Gaza. Don't misunderstand me. But take a little time to look at it. You'll see when you look in, there are tons of solar panels on the roofs of everything. Tons of solar panels everywhere. They have renewable windmills, renewable energy like crazy in Gaza because they've dealt with embargoes before. So when somebody tells you Israel cut off electricity to Gaza, okay, that's true. That's true. What didn't happen is that Gaza had zero electricity. That didn't happen. Gaza had its own power station that's running out of fuel. Its blockade of supplies to Gaza. Now, did you hear Texas Paul just say that? I've said that from the beginning. Israel needs to lift its blockade of Gaza. The blockade was put in place to stop arms from getting into terrorists in Gaza. That failed. That failed. So there's no purpose for it anymore. There's no purpose for it anymore. Open up Gaza. Allow goods into Gaza. It's a beach city, by the way. When you look it up, take a look at the beach. It's like Miami, except for no bikinis because Islam, you know. But it's a beach city. It's beautiful. It got a beautiful beach. It really does. Um, Beach city equals they have water. Not exactly because they've got a desalinization plant there, but they don't have enough electricity to run it full time. So they have limited water coming out of the desalinization facility. See, that's what I'm saying. What you hear is Gaza has no water. No, Gaza has some water, just not enough. Just not enough. And that's what I'll always do for you folks. That's what I will always do for you. I'll tell you the truth, and I'll show you how to go look for yourself. But I do. I love you folks because you're always on top of things. But we've had a big problem here. The trolls came out when the October massacre happened. When the October massacre happened, Putin's trolls came out strong, really strong. And we ended up with a whole bunch of people going along with that movement. And that movement was if you don't repeat the propaganda, then you're pro genocide. And I believe me, I got called that over and over and over again. Again, I lost a third of my audience, folks. I lost a third of my audience because I wouldn't go along with propaganda. And it's a problem. I have a good friend of mine. He's a Jewish man. Just spoke to him yesterday. Y'all know who he is, but I'm not going to bring him up. And he, being Jewish, he's part of the Jewish community where he lives, but he hasn't been really dealing, hanging out with those folks because he's been very busy on a project for you and me, really, just working his ass off on it. But since the October massacre, he decided to go ahead and meet up with some of those people again to touch base with them. And he went to dinner day before yesterday. And at that dinner, his Jewish friends were just heartbroken that progressives and liberals on the left have betrayed them. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. because of the trolls came out in 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 conjunction with the October massacre. A lot of people that want to support the Palestinian people went off the charts. So much so that somebody like me got attacked like crazy whenever, I spent years supporting the Palestinians and their right to a homeland. Yeah, Med USA, I agree with you. You lose shit balls but gain quality people. That's true. That is true. I've had so many people announce that they're not following anymore, like on threads. I'm not following you anymore. I'm leaving. Unfollow. Cool. I've gained 8,000 followers in the same time frame. And that's why I'm going to continue to do this, folks. But what I'm asking you is let me speak for me. Never let anybody else. I know Tony didn't mean any harm by what he was saying. He was just highlighting what he thought was a difference in our positions. That's all he was doing. But in this environment that is so emotional, let me speak for me. Let the Israeli government speak for the Israeli government. Let Joe Biden and our spokesman speak for the American government, and nobody gets confused. Nobody gets confused. And I'm asking you, please support the Palestinians, but do not betray all of our causes. Don't. The LGBTQ plus community deserves our support. They deserve our support. We have the Jewish community that's feeling betrayed because everybody went so radically pro-Palestinian that they were trashing Israel and saying things that frankly weren't true about Israel, which was making the Jewish people feel betrayed and driving the Jewish people right into the arms of the Republican Party. That's a mistake. Don't do it. Don't betray your allies to support Palestine. Support Palestine and support your allies. That's what Texas Paul is saying. I believe and support Israel's right to exist, and I'm not going to waver on that. Now, you want to talk about policy, you want to talk about actions, I'm with you. I don't like Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't like everything Israel's done. But I also believe you can't get a Palestinian state just by negotiating with Israel. It can't be a two-state solution. It's got to be a five-state solution. And let's not leave the Kurds out. Let's not leave the Kurds out. They were our allies. They fought and died with us, standing next to us, brother to brother. They deserve a homeland too. Off my soapbox. I got something great for you here. You're going to love this. We're going to change directions. You're going to love this. You are going to love this. Let me read it to you. It's uh it's from Occupy Democrats. Breaking: MAGA Congresswoman Lauren Boebert gets brutal news as top Hollywood luminaries line up en masse to support her Democratic challenger Adam Frisch, was already crushing her in fundraising. The last report just came out, destroying Boebert again. 3 times the fundraising that Boebert's done. He's taken in $3.4 million in the last report. And he's getting big time supporters in Hollywood that are behind him. Ryan Reynolds, I don't know if you know how much power Ryan Reynolds has now, but he's not just a producer, he's not just a director, he's not just an actor. He is also the guy that owns Mint Mobile. I mean, he is a big deal. You got Barbara Streisand that's come out for Adam Frisch. Jackson Brown, if you're old as me, you know who Jackson Brown is. Paul Williams, Gail Ann Hurd, the producer. It's just tremendous support for Adam Frisch coming out. Tremendous support coming out. And yes, Ryan Reynolds is Canadian, but he's one that we're keeping. So thank you. Oh, thanks for the support, Jackie. I really appreciate you. And thank you all for the support. I really do. I wish I had it here. Maybe Mrs. Texas Paul can grab it. I just got the best gift in the mail. I did. I normally just get stuff from jackasses. I mean, because I talk about the where I live, there's white supremacists. There are headquarters for three different white supremacist organizations within minutes of my house. There's just I pointed out in the show before where the Anti-Defamation League will actually has a map where it pinpoints them. There are three of them that are within my house. They send me stuff like I get Confederate flag hats, racist shit sent to my PO box all the time. Just I guess they're reminding me that they know I'm here, and I don't know. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but I'm going to do a video. I can't haven't made up my mind. You get to choose. You get to choose. Do I do a video of me pissing on those hats, or do I do a video of me burning those hats, or do a video of all three? I don't know. That's up to you. But I just got the most badass gift. It's a hoodie, and I don't mean like a cheap like Texas hoodies are like this thin, because 30 degrees maybe, high 20s maybe. One of my followers from Alaska just mailed me a hoodie. Thank you, honey. Just mailed me a hoodie. This thing is so freaking thick. Check this thing out. I love this. Let me pull the mic out of the way. Hold on. And what's so cool about it is I've been there. I've been there. I took a trip to Alaska and I've actually been there. I freaking love this, man. And God, you should see how thick, you should feel how thick this is great. Anyways, I'm just saying thank you. I appreciate it. What you didn't do is include your name, and that's why I'm bringing this up. Let me know who you are. I appreciate it. A lot of people don't want to be called out, but I want to be able to say thank you. I want to be able to say thank you. I do. So please, if you could include your name, I'm grateful for the gift. And I know it was from the show because it came to my PO box, which is my business PO box. It has nothing to do with my personal stuff. So, yeah, there's that. I love you folks. We've gone over a little bit. Do you still want to do a round table? I know it's been an hour and a half. It's up to you. It's y'all's show. Let me know. Roger Himmelwright votes for all three. Pee on them, burn them. I agree with you. That's where they're going to end up. But I have to keep stuff like that for a while because I also get a lot of death threats, and you never know. There could be fingerprints or anything like that on them. So I take them and I've got a drawer that I throw the crap in. So yeah, you assholes, if you thinking about, I keep your stuff. If it's got fingerprints on it, you know, anything happens, I turn it all over to the cops. I'm with you. I'm with you. Any good comments or questions? We'll go ahead and do a roundtable. This is a good one, but you can't make a cow stand still where you want it. Just hard to do. All right. Any good questions or comments? All right. Uncomfortable silence. DK Hall, I appreciate the comment. It says, thank you, Texas Paul, for being observant of what's really going on. I know you caught hell, but it's real. Yeah, it's worth it. My buddy I was talking to yesterday that was explaining to me how people in the Jewish community were feeling. He said the same thing. If he loses his entire audience, oh well. You know, I don't want to lose you guys. I really don't. But I'm not going to lie to you to keep you. Oh, wait a minute. There was a great question here, and I just missed it. There we go. iGolf J Tweeter. I actually got something for you on that. Who for speaker? I've been sitting here researching that for another show, but we'll just go ahead and talk about it right now. Thanks for the comment. Great comment. Great question. Right now, we've got Tom Emery. He's the majority whip. He's picked up McCarthy's endorsement. So the next vote that we have for speaker, they're going to hold a private vote within their caucus, try to whittle some of these down. But I don't know how they're going to do it, because on top of these that I'm about to let you know about, there's another half dozen that have said they're going to jump in. It's a free for all on the Republican side. So we've been without a speaker for how long now? And then we had a weak speaker before that was really not a speaker, couldn't control his caucus. Yeah. Trina Lang says, I'm glad you have nuanced view of the war on the war. Thank you. For most, everything is black and white. Thank you. Yeah. And you can't look at it as all black and white, because it never is. It never is. We've got Tom Emery. Like I said, he's from Michigan. You got Mike Johnson from Louisiana. He's the vice chair of the Republican conference in the House. He's thrown his hat in. He's actually in, not talking about it. He's actually in. You've got, of course, Austin Scott again. Austin Scott was that nobody ever heard of from Georgia that I told you. He actually voted to certify the election. He's not crazy. He almost beat Jim Jordan in their vote in the caucus. He said he's staying in the race. You've got Kevin Hearn from Oklahoma. He chairs the study committee. It's one of those little unheard of committees that you don't know about, that's actually freaking huge in number. He could potentially, Kevin Hearn, have a lot of support. Pete Sessions from Texas, no, don't do Pete Sessions. No. Uh, Jack Bergman from Michigan. Keep an eye on Jack Bergman. He's a lieutenant general a retired lieutenant general from the Marine Corps. Keep an eye on Jack Bergman. He may float up to the top, because as far as crazies go, he ain't it. But he does command a lot of respect throughout the caucus. So yeah, it may be Jack Bergman. And of course, they're floating Byron Donalds again. And that just goes to show you how the Republicans don't care if they humiliate us, and the absolute filth that is the Republican caucus. And yes, I call Byron Donalds filth. The guy's been arrested for dealing drugs. He got out because he did a pretrial deal. Is the only reason he wasn't convicted. The deferred adjudication, you don't get in trouble for a while, because he got caught dealing a relatively small amount of drugs. But yeah, Byron Donalds. Also, then he goes on to get convicted of a fraud later on, bank fraud. I mean, Jesus. Blames it on his girlfriend. The Republicans in Florida expunged that from his record. But they're there. We know they're there. We know it happened. The whole world knows. You're really going to humiliate us with a speaker, Byron Donalds? And the only reason they're nominating, I'm going to say it, is because he's black. That's it. That's really it. He's part of the Freedom Caucus. So he'll say what any stupid thing they want him to say when they pull his chain. But yeah, that's who's in the race so far. It's just a crap show over there with the Republicans, and the entire world is watching, and they think we're weak because of it. It's amazing. And we've got another half dozen Republicans that have said that they're considering jumping in. So yeah, it's going to be a complete and utter circus. Thanks for asking about that. Yeah, it's going to be a complete and utter circus. Exactly. Donald's is a male Candace Owens. Thank you, Greg Edmond. That is a great comment. Actually, no, it's not. I've got something I can pull up for you. The James Comer humiliated himself. Um, I'll pull up a couple things that I've talked about this week, and thanks for bringing that up. This is one of them. I'll share it with you. So yeah, this came up. I shared a thread from Eric Swalwell. It says at Rep James Comer proves Joe Biden generously loaned his family money and they responsibly paid him back. Nice work, detective. Because James Comer shared this a check written out to Joe Biden for $200,000 from his brother, James Biden. And they're claiming that that is somehow tied in with Hunter Biden and it proves corruption. When it says right on the check, if you look down at the bottom, it says loan repayment. I mean, these people, they're doing it again. What Republicans do, they don't come up with anything that's real or anything that's evidence. They just keep throwing it at the wall to see if they can make it stick. And there's just so much there that, eventually their people are like, oh, well, there has to be something there. They've said so much. G.R. Johnson, I appreciate the support. He says, I'm always down for people who stand for truth and are decent in capital letters. Decent. Decent. Big respect to you, Honorable Sir. I appreciate you. I do. You know, I'm not perfect. I have gotten things wrong in the past. I correct it because I want to tell the truth. Naomi Lurie says that's a lot of loan. That's what they want. They want their caucus, which is made up of really, really dumb rural poor people, to look at that 200,000 figure and say, "Oh, that's got to be graft. That's got to be graft." It's not. It's not. The Bidens are a fairly wealthy family. They are. I mean, they're not poor folks. I mean, Joe Biden may have come from a middle class background, but he's not middle class anymore. He's not. So yeah, they loan each other money. They do. Why would you go to a bank and pay interest when you've got a family member? I don't know what you're saying about 2 billion, but it was $200,000. Why would you go to a bank and pay interest when you've got a family member that will loan it to you with no interest? That doesn't make sense. I mean, if you could do it, would you do it? Of course you would, if you were in their position. No, Mark Wagner, great comment. Are there any Republicans who are not dirt bags left? No, there are not. And I catch so much hell for saying that. Even before you go to MAGA, the Republicans that created MAGA, oh, you're talking about Jared and the 2 billion. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Just, I'll talk about Jared and the 2 billion in just a little bit. But, I get so much hell because I should say that openly. No, there are no Republicans left that aren't dirtbags, and they were dirtbags before. Before MAGA came along, they were dirtbags. How do you think MAGA got here? They have always the John Birch Society. I mean, they've always hugged up to crazy, Jerry Falwell, crazy churches where they fleece people out of their money. You just all of their organizations are crap that have been just throwing bullshit out on top of the American people to pander to their worst fears, their worst racism, their worst versions of themselves. And that's before MAGA ever got here. So, no, there are no decent Republicans. There just aren't. Are Democrats perfect? No. Hell no. But we're a hell of a lot better than Republicans. That's why I always say it. We are better people than you are. I catch hell for saying that too, but it's the truth. We are just better people. And the Billionaire Boys Club came out. But, a lot of people talk about the $2 billion that the Saudis gave to Jared Kushner. And by the way, I hear his marriage is in trouble. That's the word on the street. That's what's coming through the grapevine, that he and Ivanka are about to hit the old divorce train. But Jared Kushner is not a financial manager, money manager. He's not. He never has been. His money came out of real estate. That does not make you a financial money manager. They didn't give Jared Kushner $2 billion like, hey, bud, here's a $2 billion check for you. Go spend it how you want. They gave him $2 billion to manage so that he would constantly take fees off of it. And that's how they bribed him. That's how they got away with bribing him without being guilty of bribing him. They gave him a no-show job. They took money out of the Saudi wealth fund, gave him $2 billion to manage. And then he takes fees off of that for managing it. And he can't do anything with it without Saudi approval. So that, it's just a no-show job for as long as they want to. They did the same thing with Steve Mnuchin, by the way. Remember the old Secretary of Treasury, Mnuchin? He got a big chunk too. I think it was close to $1 billion. They gave him to manage for no particular reason. Mnuchin is just, oh, I can't watch. He fancies himself a Hollywood producer. I can't stand movies that'll come out. Transformers. Can't watch any of the Transformers movies because Steve Mnuchin was the producer on those. This is another great question I get. Amy Meganson, I appreciate that. What happens to Trump's Secret Service if he leaves? They go back to other jobs, but there are so many people saying he can't leave because he's got Secret Service. Like somehow the Secret Service are like jail wardens. Doesn't work that way. Secret Service are a courtesy. They're a courtesy. He can does dismiss them all the time. All he has to tell his Secret Service when he wants to run is go home, boys. See you in the morning. No explanation, no nothing. And they have to go. A lot of people confuse it because, like at the January 6th situation where Trump assaulted a Secret Service agent that would not take him to the Capitol, they think that they control, somehow they have control over the people that they want. No, he had control over a Secret Service vehicle. That's what he had control over. He didn't have control over Trump. If Trump hadn't been a cheapskate and had brought another vehicle, he could have driven right up to the Capitol. He could have driven right up to the Capitol. The Secret Service did not have authority over the vehicle they were in. They would have had to take him anywhere he wanted to go. The fact that it was a Secret Service SUV gave that Secret Service agent the right to drive back to the White House, get out, put his hands up and say, I'm out. That was it. The Secret Service does not control even the existing president. He could say, I'm going into a war zone, and the Secret Service will say, no, you're not. I can't protect you there. The president can say, too bad, so sad. That's where I'm going. Well, folks, it has been a lot of fun, and it's about a quarter till. It's Sunday. Football! Let's do it. Go enjoy the games. Go make your snacks. Have fun. Enjoy your Sunday. I hope you're having a beautiful Sunday. For some reason, it got hot as hell here. We were down into this, it was 70 degrees in the afternoon. It was so beautiful. And then this week, it's going to be 90s in the afternoon again. Hate it. But I hope y'all have a beautiful Sunday. Enjoy yourselves. Shameless plug. Go check out the mugs we put up. Oh, I got a surprise for you. I've ordered we make all the mugs in house. You're going to get my blood, sweat, and tears on your mug. So there you go. But I've ordered, and it'll be here in a few days. Instead of a heated press that makes the mugs, yeah, I can make the water tumblers. Those are coming. So go to the Texas Paul store, check them out, get your mugs. We've got holiday mugs coming. Enjoy. I appreciate you. We're done. Enjoy some beautiful Texas cities at night. Have a great day.